I want to talk about the first shoot I did with the Mamiya RZ67. Okay, technically it's not my very first shoot with the Mamiya. I did take it out into a park and shot a friend of mine. However, I had no clue what I was doing and the images didn't really turn out. So this is really the second shoot with the Mamiya, but the first one in a studio setting and the first one that actually turned out. So I was nervous to shoot on the Mamiya, especially in the studio. In my head, I had a very specific vision, which included strobe lights, a studio, and a model. And when I have a really specific idea in mind, I kind of obsess over it until I get to either try it out or execute it. So prior to the shoot, I went on YouTube to try to see if there was any other photographers who had shot on medium format in the studio, but all I really found were people that shot with maybe 1 or 2 lights, and I knew that my vision had at least 3 or 4 lights in it. I want to walk through just how I lit these photos, what strobes and modifiers I used, as well as what film stock and camera settings I used. So first I want to show you some of the images that I had as inspiration. So basically it's a male model lit against a blue backdrop that mimics the sky. I really loved how these images were lit. You could obviously see there was a main or key light and then also a rim light, but you could tell the background wasn't a true sky just by the way it's photographed and lit. I knew it was a fake backdrop, so I wanted to do something similar. I just didn't know how to light that. So let's jump into the photo that I was able to take. One of my favorite photos from this shoot is this one. So I really wanted the backdrop to be lit evenly, and I could have used umbrellas on the strobes or just shot the strobes directly at the backdrop. I used 2 Profoto D1s, bare bulbed, and I had them at about 7.5, 8 power, and I shot them into the white side of a V flat. And what that did was it reflected off that white V flat onto the backdrop, and it gave a really even, consistent light on the backdrop. I really didn't want to have harsh hotspots or unnatural shadows in this photo. I think a really simple way to elevate images, especially when it comes to fashion or editorial, is to light your subject differently than you light your backdrop. So what I could have done here is lit the model with 1 light and use that light to fall back onto the backdrop. What this would do though is cast a shadow on the backdrop, and it would kind of lose that element of, is this a real sky? Is it a fake sky? It would kind of take away from that. So just a simple thing to do is use completely different lights in a different setup to light your backdrop than you do your subject. This is definitely my new favorite go-to way to light a backdrop. I actually just did a shoot the other day where I used the same lighting setup with a white backdrop, and I actually put red gels on both of the strobe lights. And it made the image completely different from this one, but it just shows you how creative you can get with this technique. And if you don't want to buy different colored seamless backdrops for every shoot, which definitely can get pricey, this is a lot cheaper of an option. You can buy gels to put on the lights, and you can turn a white backdrop really into any color you want. Now on to the main or key light. This light, I use a Profoto D1 at about 9.5 power, and I used a Glow Easy Deep Parabolic Softbox. I had never used one of these before. It was actually just what was at the studio that I was renting. And actually, I don't think I've ever used it again. However, I did really love the light that this put on the model's face. It was very clean, very crisp. And I would definitely use a softbox again. And if I would reshoot this again, I would try to get a grid on that softbox as well, just to kind of contain the light, and I'd be able to control the light on the model's face a lot better and nothing would spill onto the backdrop. Okay, on to the fourth and final light. This was another Profoto D1. I had it powered at like 4.5, but what I did on this is I added a red gel. And as you can see in the photo, it just gives a little bit of warmth and a little bit of contrast to the model's face. I love using color in my work, and this photo was obviously dominated by the blue backdrop, but I wanted to add a little bit of contrast, so that red did just that. All right, let's get into what camera I used, which obviously was the Mamiya RZ67. I used this with a 110mm lens. That's just a lens that I bought this camera with and really all I had to use. I used the Portra 400 and I shot it at box speed. Shutter speed was 125 and the aperture was 22. I hope you liked this video and found it helpful. I would love to hear if you guys have ever tried similar lighting setups, or if you're going to try this one in the future. Let me know in the comments below. Feel free to thumbs up this video and subscribe to my channel. Obviously, this is the only video right now on my channel, but I've got some projects in the works that I'm really excited about, some fun lighting techniques, and I'm looking forward to filming that and sharing with you all. Thanks for watching.